Hello, everyone. I'm Adam with AEW Maine Treasure Adventures. Being from Bar Harbor, born and raised, I get asked on a daily basis by tourists and locals seeking thrilling adventures. What are some of the unique things to do here, or what do you like to do? Well, today we are going to look at one of the greatest experiences that you can take part in while in Bar Harbor and visiting Acadia National Park. So, fellow travelers and treasure hunters, let's jump right into it. We are over at the Atlantic Oceanside Hotel, getting on the Acadian Sightseeing and Nature Cruises. This is one of the many different water excursions that the Acadian boat tours offer. Talk about having some history. This is a real-life Bar Harbor, Maine tradition, as they are Frenchman Bay's longest-running nature cruise since they started it in 1934. Personally, I've gone out on the Acadian Sightseeing and Nature Cruise hundreds of times. That doesn't even count the times I've been on their other vessels. It's my absolute favorite thing to do. Whether you are 5 or 105 years old, you will see a different perspective of the island that not everyone takes the time to see because they are too busy just hitting some of the regular attractions that everyone else does on land, like Cadillac Mountain, Sand Beach, and Thunder Hole. This is the one thing you can do where every single time out, it's a totally different adventure. You never know what you're going to see. You will learn or see something about the history or the sea life of the island that you didn't know or have seen before. I will show off some of our sea animal friends that you might get to see and experience for yourself when you take the Acadian cruise out. But first, let's take a closer look at the vessel before we talk about the amazing animals that you could come across while on the cruise. The Acadian can hold a maximum of 149 passengers. It is 65 feet in length, 20 feet wide, and has a steel hull with twin diesel engines. She is equipped with radar for foggy days, VHF radio, GPS, and a concert-quality PA system for your listening enjoyment. Her first deck has 2 restrooms, a heated cabin, and a small galley, so on colder days, keep that in mind. The second deck is the spot I recommend being on for optimal viewing. The Acadian undergoes a rigorous Coast Guard inspection every year. She is outfitted with all necessary life-saving equipment as required by the United States Coast Guard to ensure your safety. Oh, and most importantly, the Acadian is also pet-friendly. Just make sure that you are only bringing friendly pets on board. I don't want to get bit. The staff that works there are amazing and friendly. From the captain that will take you as close as legally possible to the locations and will try to adjust the boat so that both sides get the best views. For example, like going into the Sand Beach Cove, the islands that have bald eagles nesting, Egg Rock to see the seals, and Lighthouse. They will have a staff member on the PA telling the history, stories, pointing out animals, places, historical residents, and important landmarks. The rest of the staff work in the galley and walk the boat looking for animals to point out, and of course can help you with any questions that you might have on your trip. Now that we were talking about other people talking about history of the island, which is my favorite thing to do, so many times I will randomly talk to tourists about some of the history in hopes to give them something that they didn't know so that they can appreciate Bar Harbor even more. Did you know Bar Harbor wasn't always called Bar Harbor? Dating back more than 12,000 years ago, the Wabanaki Indians would come to Mount Desert Island to hunt, fish, and live. They called Bar Harbor at the time Monastadik. That stands for the clam digging place, or in place where clams are dug. In 1796, the town of Eden was incorporated. That stuck until the name was again changed in 1918 to what we know it to be today, Bar Harbor. Over to the left is the Bar Harbor Breakwater. It extends 2,510 feet from Bald Porcupine Island. I know this because I've measured it. Just kidding. It includes 382,000 tons of stone. This was man-made, and the story goes that J.P. Morgan, one of the wealthiest people alive at the time, would bring his yacht, the largest yacht in the world at the time. Matter of fact, he owned 3 of the largest yachts in his time. When somebody would build one bigger, JP needed a new one that was larger than the last. JP Morgan often anchored his private yacht near one of the Porcupine Islands offshore. He would, of course, have his daily drink, and oftentimes threw private parties that all his wealthy friends would also join him on his yacht. Most days, the waves would be enough to rock the boat back and forth, enough that JP and his guest would end up spilling their cocktails. After multiple attempts, most of his guests decided it wasn't for them and stopped going to the parties. JP finally had enough and did what any rich person would do back in the day. He called the White House and told the president that Bar Harbor needed a breakwater. The president obliged and called on the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to build the breakwater. It was constructed from 1888 to 1917 to protect the harbor and, most importantly, allow J.P. Morgan to have his yacht parties without worrying about him and his guests spilling their cocktails all over each other. Unfortunately, most of the bill was paid for at the taxpayers' expense. Do you know what Acadia National Park was called before it was Acadia National Park? In 1960, it was named Cerdamont National Monument. In 1919, the name changed again to Lafayette National Park. At that time, it became the first national park east of the Mississippi River. And then the name once again changed on January 19, 1929, to what we all know it to be today, Acadia National Park. It was named after a region in Greece, Arcadia. Let's get back to the cruise. I'll show you some of the marine animals that you most likely will see. I'll also talk about some of the rarities that you might get lucky enough to come across. But keep in mind that the rare animals, some only come up into Frenchman's Bay for a short period of time out of the entire year, so you may or may not see them all. And of course, it's the ocean. You may get to see a once-in-a-lifetime event. The usual suspects that you will see are seals, especially around Egg Rock. You will see harbor seals and gray seals, some basking on the rocks, others bobbing up and down in the water. Gray seals are much larger at maturity. A full-grown male gray seal weighs about 770 pounds. A full-grown male harbor seal, about 350 pounds, less than half the size of a gray seal. A couple other ways to tell them apart. A harbor seal's nose nostrils are V-shaped, versus a gray seal's are shaped like a W. Harbor seals have a head that looks a bit too small for its body, with a concave shape, whereas the gray seal's head is more proportionate, with a long, straight snout and no distinguishable eyebrows. Here is some video of what it looks like when seals are eating a huge bait ball of fish just off the coastline. I've filmed seals eating a bait ball a bunch of different times, one with a drone, one from the Bar Harbor shore path, a bunch underwater videos while diving, and then put them all together. Some of the birds that you're most likely to see are common seagulls, great black-backed gull, ring-billed gull, Wilson and Leach's storm petrels, peregrine falcons, bald eagles, Atlantic puffins, double-crested and great cormorants, osprey, greater, sooty, and mixed shearwaters, northern fulmar, common mirror, Arctic and common tern, razorbill, northern gannet, red-necked and red phalaropes, black guillemots, common eaters, loons and ducks, Some of the rarer birds are different species of vultures, hawks, eagles, falcons, owls, and Corey's shearwater. Some of the bigger animals that you could see are harbor porpoise. They are always around, but unless you're paying attention, they can easily be missed. Sometimes on the islands, you can see deer walking around after they have swam out there to eat some untouched food. Some other rare animals are sperm whales, other smaller whales, sharks, ocean sunfish, also called mula mula. They can get bigger than a truck. Here is one now. This is a pretty small one, but still the size of a Mini Cooper car, and I would estimate this one is around 500 to 800 pounds. This is one of the largest bony fish in the world. They can get up to 4,400 pounds. That's pretty spectacular. Another one of my favorites, that is pretty rare to see, but I do see them from time to time, is the basking shark. I've also been able to dive with a few of them. Here's some video. They are the second largest shark alive today. These guys were between 26 and 32 feet long. They swim through the water with their huge mouths open, filtering out some of the smallest food like zooplankton and krill. And don't worry about me, I'm off their menu. They will not eat me. They promised. Once you are closer to the islands and heading back to the hotel at the end of the trip, keep an eye out for jellyfish swimming on the surface of the water. And, of course, throughout the cruise, there are a ton more animals that could make an appearance. I can usually be found on the 10 a.m. or the 1 p.m. trip. Those are 2-hour-long cruises, plus, historically, those are the best times to see some of the coolest animals in the water. I also will take the sunset tour out every now and again to watch the sunset out on the water. This trip is around 1.5 hours. It is perfect for any couple trying to get the perfect picture for your vacation by a mesmerizing sunset over the water. It can be a perfect ending to your day. Along with getting to enjoy the animals and the views in and around the picturesque coastal gem of Bar Harbor, Maine, and learning about some of the amazing history of some of the wealthiest families in the world from the mid-1800s through present times. Whether you're captivated by the town's rich history or by the grandeur of Acadian National Park, this cruise has something to satisfy every explorer and traveler's soul. From the grandeur of Acadia, the history of the town, seeing some of the sea animals that you don't get to see from land. The Acadian Sightseeing and Nature Cruise promises to etch unforgettable memories into your heart, creating a tapestry of experiences and knowledge that will be cherished for years to come. Just to be transparent here, I am not being told what to say in this video, nor am I getting paid by the Acadian or anyone else for putting together this video. This is me showing off one of my favorite adventures that I do all the time, and I hope you get to experience the same amazing adventures as I do. I will also put in the description all the links and contact information for the Acadian boat tours to book your very own adventure. And remember, they have a bunch of different options, vessels, and boat tours. I'll also put in what I recommend that you bring with you and how to prepare yourself any ship that you take while in Bar Harbor. Until the next adventure, AEW out.